Good morning. Welcome to this morning service. I hope everyone had an uneventful evening last night. Although it was Halloween, everything was very quiet, hopefully, with not too much to, uh, to contribute to our pandemic, that we were all safe at home. Uh, we'll begin this morning service. If you please join in the reading of Sambujo, and followed by the reading of Sambutsuge. Namanda, 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 namanda.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So, uh, let us read Golden Chain together. So, please join me in Gasho. Golden Chain. I am a link in Amida's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Okay, thank you. So did you enjoy the Halloween yesterday? I saw the preschool kids celebrate the Halloween event at the church parking lot. So I I took a look at a little bit, and it was really fun. They had the photo booth. So I took a photo in front of the photo booth, and then I sent the photo to my family in Japan. So it was really fun. So although we couldn't get together this year, but I hope we can celebrate the Halloween with everyone next year. So I'll begin my Dhamma talk. So maybe many of you have spent your spare time watching movies or dramas on Netflix. I'm really into watching Korean drama on Netflix personally. Yeah, I think the reason why my English doesn't improve is that yeah, I always watch Korean dramas a lot. So yeah, so this drama is set in a book publishing company and a romantic comedy. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. The romantic situation, the two people, but also I was really impressed with their hard working to make a book. So here's an impressive scene in drama. So an assistant manager asked her subordinate, who was still a new employee at the company, and she was really she's not motivated. And then the manager asked her to check the book author bio for the upcoming release. So she asked her to she asked her subordinate, a new employee, to research it and added any details. Although the assistant manager is always strict to the new employee, she's always passionate about her job, and she has been involved with editing book almost for a year. The new employee double-checked the author's bio on the internet and the sent off the printing order. One day, they finally have finished printing out 5,000 copies of the book, and they were happily flip-flapping the pages. But someone found that there was a missing of some important information from the author's bio at the very first page of the book, and it was a very crucial problem. Since the assistant manager was mainly in charge of the book editing, she looked very shocked. They discussed if they should discard all the books and reprint them, or put the sticker over it. She strongly refused to discard 5,000 copies of the book because she didn't want to waste paper. And she said like this: I don't want to waste any paper. If we do so, I feel so sorry for the trees in the forest. As one of the editors, I don't want to do that. And the system manager decided to put the sticker over it and asked the new employee to do it alone. And the drama still goes on. I touch her strong passion and responsibility as an editor through her words. And I was surprised to hear her saying, I feel so sorry for the trees in the forest. And I thought she had a big perspective, as a wide perspective as an editor and a human being. We always tend to care about ourselves if something inconvenient happened to us, and don't care about other people at all. All we care about is ourselves. But she wasn't. Although she is very strict, I think she is very kind, that she can lend her heart to the lives of the trees in the forest, which will be cut down and wasted by human selfishness. She appreciates the trees in the forest through editing a book. I was ashamed of myself, who always wastes paper when they're caring about the trees in the forest. Howard reminded me of Thich Nhat Hanh's word. Here's a question posed by Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a well-known Vietnamese Buddhist monk and peace activist, to the participants at his lecture in Japan. Can you see cloud in this paper? Maybe he showed the paper to the participant like this. He suddenly showed the participant a piece of paper and asked a question. When the audience gave a blank look, he continued like this. It doesn't rain. It doesn't rain without any cloud. Trees never grow without any rain. We can't produce any piece of paper. This is called dependent co-arising. Reverend Han also clearly explained that the idea of dependent co-arising through visualizing the image of cloud from the piece of paper in his writing, Being Peace. As one of the fundamental ideas in Buddhism, Shakyamuni Buddha tells us everything in this world is related to the other in direct or indirect in ways, changing the disappearing in the relationship. After hearing this, what do you see? What do you see through this paper? Maybe you can see not only the paper itself, but also forest, water, cloud, soil. I believe so. Then country relationship which have related to make a piece of paper. This idea fits not only in the case of paper, but also in our lives. Each of us was born as a child of our parents, but looking back further, there are countless ancestors before our lives, and we are able to born as a human being, thanks to this connection of each life. Other than that, our human body consists of many invisible and different substances, such as protein, calcium, and phosphorus. We live our lives by taking lives of plants and animals. The same may be true for the spread of coronavirus all over the world. The small thing happened in China now threatens people's lives all over the world. Invisible virus has passed from one person to another. I may possibly threaten someone's life through my careless behavior. This is not something that just happened to other people anymore, because we are connected with each other under the radar. So taking care of our lives, taking care of our own lives can be taking care of other lives. So wearing a mask can be of course, of yourself. Can be for your of course for yourself, but also for others. when you see the world like this, there is nothing which doesn't relate to you in this world, and there is no border between you and me. If you see the things like this, if you see the things, accept someone's sufferings, and hear the things as your own matter, that is a true compassion. Buddha has its ultimate compassion because Buddha see every living thing's life, every living's lives as its own life, and embraces each suffering as its own pain and suffering. Because Buddha doesn't see the things or separated. The idea of dependent co-arising is a wisdom Buddha shows us to allow us to see not only the visible part of the world, but also the whole part of the world, including the invisible parts as they are. You may take it for granted. It may be hard for us to realize this in our daily lives. However, we now have a great chance to reconsider our lives and the lives surrounding us. When we appreciate every relationship and each connection which nurtures us through the teaching of Buddhism, we may be able to live a colorful life conscientiously. That is a life appreciation. So thank you for listening. I'd like to conclude my Dharma talk with Gasho. Please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you.
Thank you, Mikami Sensei. This morning, after our Dharma school service, of course, students will go to their classes, but we always have another service at 10:10. And so, if you'd like to join us for that 10:10 service this morning, Sumi Tanabe will be our speaker for that 10:10 service. Next, happy November. Today is the first day of November. It seems like only yesterday it was October. Huh. Sorry. Okay, so next week and then the following week will be our Eshinni Kakushinni BWA memorial service in that 10:10 service time. We'll have a Dharma school service at 9:30, which will come talk a little bit about Eshinni, Kakushinni. But at 10:10, there will be a special service with a special guest speaker, Reverend Wandra from the Orange County Buddhist Temple. And so that'll be in 2 weeks when we'll observe that service. So please plan to join us for that. There are many seminars, programs being presented online by the Center for Buddhist Education, BCA Center for Buddhist Education. There are series going on at many temples also presenting either lecture series or seminars. And so if you will go to the Buddhist Churches of America's website, and you can find information there. Mikami Sensei's Japanese and English Hoa is on the Dhamma.
Yes.
Yeah, so she is the current right now on the you call in telephone Hoa, telephone Dharma message. So if you call that number, again, it's at the BCA website. Or you can call that number and you can hear a Dharma message from Mikami Sensei. So a lot of things that are going on. Please feel free, take advantage of this opportunity. The pandemic has caused us to do things differently, and in some ways we can do things that we had not really uh, thought about, perhaps, or had thought about but not put into place. But now there are these many opportunities for us to hear and to share the Dharma. So please take some time, be safe, but also take the opportunity to hear the Dharma. Again, thank you very much, Mikami Sensei, for your Dharma message this morning. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll conclude this morning's Dharma School service with Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, everybody. Good morning. We'll begin with our kansho. We'll begin shortly. Good morning. We'll begin this morning's service. If you please join in the reading of Sambujo, followed by the reading of Juseige. So Sambujo, followed by Juseige. 방언 조생난 이시마 전어 긴나만성 세이브 조성나 아오므려고 이나이 세션 버사이션빙어 세이븐 조션나 아시조무즈노 여셔전지법 법겸이셔먼 세이븐 조션나 리역은 진천엔 저에셔멍여 지금은 전어 이셔텐인심 진리기엔 날고 어셔무사이너 조조상금여 어사이셔야 금난 아이히지행엔 내시꼬모안 해성무쇼아금노 성하트 Namanda, namanda, namandas, namanda, namanda. Good morning. Hope everyone is doing well and able to enjoy this beautiful autumn day. We have a guest speaker with us this morning. I don't see her checked into our Zoom room yet. Hopefully, I see her on our YouTube chat, but hopefully we'll see her in a bit. In the meantime, if you please join in the reading of Three Treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life, and now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One, now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves our supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of thy doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord, in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. So I don't see our guest speaker yet. I know she's on Zoom, not Zoom, but on our YouTube channel because I saw her check in earlier at 10:05. So if you're still watching on Zoom, on YouTube, you have to log into our Zoom site in order for me to bring you into the service. So I'll fill this time with something. Hopefully, she'll join us shortly. So, parts of the world are experiencing, increase in pandemic. It's something that we're all concerned about, and we are taking necessary precautions. Even in the United States, we're starting to see tremendous amounts of increases in cases of COVID-19 patients in hospitals, not just people testing positive. We had a bit of a scare here a week ago when one of our office people may have been in contact with someone that was COVID positive. But as it turned out, unfortunately, there was it was not a case where she tested positive, so we were okay. But we did take the precaution where we closed on the office for a little bit, made sure that we reduced the contact with other individuals, just in case we had been infected with that. As Mikami Sensei mentioned in her Dharma school talk, that being precautious is certainly something for us to be concerned about our well-being. It's something that allows us to protect ourselves. But being cautious is really also about the need to be aware of other people, the well-being of others. And I think certainly not just a Buddhist way of thinking about things, certainly shared by other traditions as well. But
Here I am.
oh, hello.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to get the hang of this Zoom. I know I was on YouTube.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay. We are joined by our guest speaker this morning, but that being concerned about the welfare of others, that wearing masks, social distancing, uh, in this time of pandemic, uh, it's not just about protecting one's own well-being, right? It's about being concerned with the welfare of others, and I think uh, that is a act of compassion, and that act of compassion certainly not found only within Buddhism, but found in many traditions around the world. But as Buddhists, I think it is a central part of who we are, being aware of um, our deep connection that we share with all beings, and to act in a way that is compassionate and caring. So I'd like to welcome this morning Sumi Tanabe. Many of you, of course, know Sumi. She has served in many capacities here at the Betsuin. She has, she is a one of our three minister assistants. We we are able to enjoy their contributions to the sangha. They bring each bring their own personality, their own area of interest, and bring their energy and experience with them as they uh, bring to the Betsuin a sense of willingness to learn as well as to share. So thank you very much, Sumi, for joining us this morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
I'm so happy to be in front of you after a long, long time. And I'm hoping that all of you are doing well in this pandemic. It certainly has been a long struggle and will continue to be so for a while. But there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. So let's hope for better days. And you at least got an extra hour of sleep last night. So please join me in Gasho. This is from Miyokoni Saichi. If compassion didn't find me, I'd be falling through darkness. That moment, Namo Amida Butsu shined on me and blew me away. Namo Amida Butsu, Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. I change my purse about twice a year, and in so doing, I have to transfer the contents of one purse to the next. And I found this little hand calculator, and on the back of it, it says Renyo Shonin 500th Memorial 1998. So it's been about 22 years. I would like to talk about this trip, the first trip that Art and I took to Japan, and it was with Reverend Jim Yanagihara's group, mainly the people from San Luis Obispo, and 3 couples from San Jose. Marlene and Bob Terasaki, Sho and Kaz Yoshida, and Art and me, plus my friends from Sacramento, Betsuin. The trip was from April 7th through April 15th. It was cherry blossom time in Japan, a beautiful time of the year to go visit. On our first day, we went up to Mount Hiei, where Shinran spent 20 years of his life. Then we visited Enrakuji Temple, founded in 788 by Saicho. The Nishi Hongwaji Temple, Yamashima Betsuin, where Renyo was cremated, and Shoden-in Temple. On the second day, April 9th, the memorial service for Renyo was held. Renyo was the 8th Gomonshu. The service was for foreigners, and the Honganji was so kind to us foreigners because they know that we are not very comfortable sitting on the floors. They provided chairs for us. Reverend Jim hurried us along so that we would be among the first group to arrive at the temple. And we were lucky because we got front row seats. The processional began with the gagaku players, and they sat right in front of us. In fact, if I lean over, I could touch one of them. I noticed a tall man wearing a very tall hat, and I thought I recognized him. And the closer he came to us, we knew that it was Hiroji Kariya from Mountain View Temple, who was representing the Buddhist churches of America. There were 2 other familiar faces sitting on the Onaijin area, Reverend Nishimura and Reverend Rosenthal. They were chosen due to their chanting abilities. The current Gomonshu, his father and grandfather, participated in this memorial service. We went on our tour the next day, and it was the Myokonin tour that Jim called. We traveled to Myokonin Ginza's temple. Ginza was born in 1852 and died in 1930. Who are these Myokonins? They were uneducated, humble, poor, but with a deep understanding of the Nembutsu teaching. Ginzo grew up in the village of Yamane. When he was 18, he and his father were working in the rice fields. His father became ill and decided to go home. When Genza came home for lunch that day, he found his father very ill, and his father told him that the end was near. And he had only one request. He said, "After I die, trust in the Oyasama." Who was Oyasama, and what did trust in mean? This bothered Ginza for a year and a half. He began attending services in a temple. Ginza did not know the easy way of the teachings. The easy way is the very basic of Jodo Shinshu teaching, and that hearing the Dharma, one is saved, therefore no disciplinary practice is needed. This bothered Ginza for 15 years. Finally, it all came together for him as he entered the ocean of the vow through the grace of an ox. One day he went up in the mountains with his ox for firewood. As he was putting the bundles of firewood on the back of his ox, he was made to realize Buddha mind. The firewood is the karma of all, and the ox is Amida Buddha. It is Amida who helped Ginza by carrying the heavy burden of the firewood. The load of the firewood makes the ox, and the karma of all makes Amida, Amida. This is a teaching of the other power. Our next stop was a temple of Miyokoni Saichi. Saichi was born in a small fishing village in Shimane. He was an old man living in poverty, making getas, wooden clogs. But he was the essence of Buddhist love and happiness. In 1919, Saichi is 70 years old. He wrote this poem, Saichi, his last moments over and done with, his funeral over and done, now lives with Namu Amida in this world, where Saichi becomes Amida and Amida becomes Saichi. Whenever his mind empties, as he is making the getas, a poem arises and Saichi puts them down in the wood shavings. At home, he will put the shavings in front of his little butsudan, and later on he would copy the words onto notebooks. These poems total about 20 notebooks. If you read Saichi poems, you'll understand his expressions of love and happiness. Our next was Miyokoni Okaru Temple. The temple is on an island and we had to go there by boat. It was a rough path going up the hill to the temple. And I was afraid that someone was going to fall because there were little pebbles going up this hill. And sure enough, one of our older members of our tour group fell. But there was a person in our group who had some medical background, and he was able to stop the bleeding and told us to go ahead to the temple while he would wait with the woman so that they could catch the next boat to the main island so that she could receive help for her arm. When we got to the temple, it was by an old retired minister, because most of the ministers were all gone to Kyoto for Renyo services. This old man did not have anybody to help him, and so he asked me to pour tea, me of all people who's so clumsy. So it was so uncomfortable to serve tea, scooting on my knees on the floor to serve everyone tea, and still worried about the woman who had fallen. The island is unsuitable for rice, so the farmers grow vegetables, and by boat they take their vegetables to exchange for rice on the other islands. So did Okaru's husband. Soon he had a relationship with a woman on the rice island and did not return home. The rumors finally reached Okaru, who was absolutely devastated. They had a small child, and one day she decided that she would commit suicide with her child. As she began walking with her child, she heard some noises, and as she came closer, she recognized that it was a temple, and in the temple was a young minister. She came in the temple, and the young minister knew right away that she was deeply depressed and talked with her. From then on, Okaru decided not to kill herself and her small child, but attended services in this temple. She became a devout follower of the Nembutsu teaching, and she forgave her husband. So they say that on this island, they were the only couple holding hands, even through old age. Our tour ended in Hiroshima. My grandparents, our parents, are from Hiroshima. So we were eagerly looking forward to going to Hiroshima and was happy to find that the city was thriving. This year is the 75th anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It was very emotional for me to go through the museum. But as we went outside, we were very hopeful, for we saw thousands of cranes lying at the foot of Sadako's statue. Sadako was a victim of the A-bomb when she was only 2 years old. As she grew up, she was a fast runner and was on her class relay team. But she became ill with leukemia. She was told that if she folded 1,000 cranes, she would get her wish. She folded 644 and died at the age of 12. Her friends finished the 1,000 cranes for her and buried the cranes with her. Even today, people from all over the world come to place cranes at her statue. We were drawn to the Bell of Peace. There is a description of the bell which reads, "This bell was dedicated September 26, 1964 by the Hiroshima Higan no Kai. We dedicate this bell as a symbol of Hiroshima aspiration. Let all nuclear arms and wars be gone, and the nation live in true peace. May it ring to all corners of the earth, to meet the ear of every man, for in it throb and palpitate the hearts of peace-loving donors. So may you too, friends, step forward and toil this bell for peace." Many members of our group went on to visit relatives, but Art and I and Marlene went home. At the Sayonara banquet, Bob Terasaki was going to meet up with his half-brother he had never met. Earlier, I had asked Bob, well, how was he going to recognize this half-brother if he had never met him? Imagine our surprise when this man walked in and he looked exactly like Bob. We were so grateful that we were able to make this trip to participate in Lenyo's memorial service, to learn about the Myokonins, and to have made some friends. I have been back to Japan 3 more times, but this first trip to Japan is still a trip that I will long remember and cherish. If you would like to learn more about the Myokonins, you can check out Myokonins by Reverend Jem Yanagihara through the BCA bookstore, or when it is safe to do so, our Betsuin bookstore has a copy of his book. Now would you please join me in Gassho? Kaze o hikeba seki ga deru. Saichi go go fukiki no kaze o hiki. Nembutsu no seki ga deru. When catching a cold, cough comes out. Saichi caught a cold of seeker and Dharma, and cough of Nembutsu comes out again and again. Namo Amidabus. Amidabus. Namo Amidabus. Thank you, everyone, for listening to my message this morning. I hope all of you stay safe, and I hope to see some of you in the next.
Thank you, Sumi. Really appreciate your sharing your experiences of the meal coining. I think we forget about meal. We don't think about meal coining very much. I mean, we hear the term, but really, I was surprised to learn that Genza and Saichi was so recent. I kind of thought of
Yeah,
them a long time ago, but
yeah.
1800s and living through the beginning of the 1900s, was very surprising to hear that. But their appreciation of the Nembutsu truly something to be for us to kind of look at and to think about their life. And I think it was Genza who maybe he heard that this one Myokonin heard that the Honganji was on fire, but he was so far away that he couldn't get to where the fire was. And so he soaked the blanket in water and shook it in the direction of the burning
I think
Honganji.
it was Ginza.
Yeah. And, that kind of, we think, that doesn't make any sense. A very logical way of thinking. We would wonder why would somebody do something like that. But with so little choices, or perhaps no choice at all, he did what he expressed through his action, his deep concern for the Honganji, for the teachings of the Nembutsu, through that kind of a crazy act of shaking this wet blanket in direction. It's not going to do anything, but he was able to convey through his actions a deep concern and really love for the Nembutsu. But thank you for sharing your experiences at the temple with Yanagihara Sensei. So Jim has passed away too a while ago now, and he was here for a while at the Betsuin. And when I went to Japan in the 70s, lived at Wakoryo, Patsy and Boku were still there. Jim had already come back to BCA, but Patsy, his wife, and Boku, their son, were still there at Wakoryo. I got to know them a little bit. But these are stories, thank you for sharing them, and your experiences and appreciation of the Nembutsu. Thank you very much. We'll conclude this morning's service. Again, thank you very much, Sumi, for joining us. And in a couple of weeks, we'll have the observe the Kakushini and Shini service with our guest speaker, Dr. Reverend Mutsumi Hawandra from the Orange County Buddhist Temple. As we conclude, will you please join in Gassho and Nembutsu? Namo Amida Butsu.
Amidabas.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amidabas.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amidabas. Namo Amidabas.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
See you. Bye.